Hello. Hey you guys, I just got off a podcast and this lady asked me if I was using a fake background. Actually I'm upstairs in my bedroom. As the house is going through a massive remodel, but I'm excited that the remodel is coming to an end, and I'm gonna get my house back in a couple of weeks. So that's exciting. You're probably gonna see like clouds going by because it's super windy right now, and so there's just these beautiful clouds that just fly by. Just kind of wonderful to see. So I'm excited to have my kitchen back. Part of the reason is that I really like to go back to doing more cooking demos and showing you, like, applications of different foods and herbs and infusing, decocting them, and doing all sorts of really wonderful things with them. And I've been missing my kitchen so badly for that, but it's another 2 weeks and then we should be ready to go. So we were supposed to launch our digestive bitters today, you guys. And, can you see the clouds going by now? And we got stuck with because of the weather. And so if you're in Texas, or if you lost your electricity, well, you're probably not watching it right now. But if you know somebody who does, I feel so bad for people who've been without electricity since Monday, and it's just been horrible. But so our bitters are gonna be hopefully releasing next week, and I wanna just show you. This is one of the bitters. This is the before meal bitters, after meal bitters. So they're all coming. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna do a whole segment on just bitters. But today, since we had to cancel our bitters launch, I thought, let's do something that talks about maybe things that you are that are not like super popular in our community. With this, I feel like I have not done the best job in communicating the benefits of things like Nettles, Quercetin, and Resveratrol, and the hormones. And so that's what I want to spend a little bit more time doing that today. And we also decided we're going to do like a mini sale and take 20% off these products. So I want to tell you first about Nettles, Quercetin, and Resveratrol. And then if there's something that interests you, then we have a sale going on right now until Sunday. So something to take advantage of. How many of you here have taken my herbal program, Herbs for Balance? Because herbs, the nettles were a very big part of that. And I did demos there, like how to infuse nettles and how you can saute nettles and stuff like that. So I was just, I wish I could do that in my kitchen, but like I said, I can't because it's still under construction. But I will just tell you, if you can get access to, or you can buy organic nettles online. And one of my favorite teas to drink is to basically use, like, if you're using a jar like this, you put about a third of nettles, dried nettles. It's going to be a strong infusion. Then you cover it with hot water and you leave it overnight. But here's the thing. Here's a little trick. In order to preserve the vitamin C in nettles, you don't want to be using hot water with nettles for infusion. You want to use a water that's about 30% lower than boiling, right? So the way you do this is that when you put that much of nettles, then you put cold water in first, and then you top it up with hot water. So that way you will balance it out, and then you leave it overnight to infuse for strongest infusion. And that just gives you a really wonderful, strong infusion. So that's a great way of preserving vitamin. A lot of people talk about vitamin C being present in nettles, but that vitamin C is going to get killed if you put hot water on nettle infusion. And the other way is, how many of you here have seen nettles in your farmers markets maybe? And they're not super popular like in regular health food stores, because if you touch them, they sting you, right? And so then supermarkets have to provide special, thongs for it, and people get still stung and complain and all that. So I think it's more like a farmer's market thing, hippie thing. And it's one of my favorite vegetables to saute, actually. And so you can cook them the same way you would cook spinach. So if you're making an omelet, or if you're just sauteing them, I just like them with, sauteing them with olive oil and salt and pepper, and that's it, because they're just so delicious. And you get the final nutrients, like the green chlorophyll that's present in nettles. Like, you can really taste it. How many of you here have cooked with nettles before? either made infusions or if perhaps you've used nettles for in a saute form. I'm just curious. And can you ever get them? And of course, the last option is you can go foraging for them. When I was in Switzerland last year, there was a lot of nettles around the clinic where I spent a couple of weeks, and we were going foraging every day for nettles, and they're making infusion with that. So that's another option. Lisa's saying I have not. I hope you have not yet. So consider doing that. I have in soup, Kim is saying. Yeah, that's a great one. The same way you make a spinach soup is actually what I prefer about nettles is they actually nutritionally very dense and wonderful. Sasha's saying, yes. Sasha, I'm wondering, how did you cook your nettles? And Leslie's saying, me, use them a lot. Leslie, how are you using them in form of tea? Share you guys so that other people would be inspired by using some nettles as well. I think they're just absolutely amazing. But here's the thing. I want to give you some ideas on how nettles, how helpful they can be. They are also super, a lot of people know them as being very, super nutritionally dense. And so certainly when you use them in teas and sauteing, that's definitely, you can feel that, you can actually, when I think about it, you can actually feel that, you can taste the nutrition in them. And that's the reason why I hate lettuce, because it's like, I feel like when you eat lettuce, it's just like eating water. There's nothing in it. And it's actually nutritionally really poor too. Lettuce really is. Sasha saying she used it as a tea. Leslie saying tea, stir fries, drop into soups, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Yummy with ghee and garlic. Totally. Yeah. So part of the reason why, and let me just also share with you, I don't know how many of you know my story, but I was born to Polish parents, and I grew up there for a little while, and then we started moving around a lot with my parents, with my dad's job, and so I ended up actually growing up in Asia and spending 22 years of my life living in Asia, so pretty much most of my adult life. But one of the things that I remember so well about nettles being used in the Polish context is, it's like the old folk kind of remedy, right? It's like if you have rheumatoid arthritis, the old women in the village would take nettles and then just whack the person who's got pain, like whatever you have pain, and just whack you with it. And and then apparently it really works. And now that I'm doing a lot more of this work, it's so interesting to see the nettles are highly anti-inflammatory. And as it happens with rheumatoid arthritis, you have a lot of inflammation going on of the joints. And so it's not surprising that nettles will probably be super helpful. One other thing I want to talk about today about nettles is the amazing benefits of them. So the inflammation is definitely there. When I launched my herbal program a few years ago, we were using a lot of the herbal teas as a way to create awareness about the program and getting people interested in the full program. And the nettle tea was something a lot of women made. And it was really fascinating to see how many of you came back and said that you've had a lot less hot flashes because of nettles. And again, when I look at research, it shows that nettles also help you regulate your blood sugar levels, which is the main cause behind hot flashes. So it's pretty amazing. I find is like whenever happens in traditional uses of an herb, like now the science is slowly catching up with it in actual studies that show these benefits. But one other thing I want to talk about today, which is very tightly correlated with hormones, is histamine. So, I don't know whether histamine issues amongst women, it's something that is like just more women are more aware of that, or whether is our body so taxed out that we are just responding to histamine a lot more than before. Maybe it's a combination of both. I don't know. If you're not familiar with histamine, the symptoms is a very long list, but some of the most obvious ones is things like having suddenly rashes on your body, redness. You have a glass of wine and you start getting headachy and your nose starts getting really choked up. You can't sleep at night as well as you used to before, especially like if having some alcohol at night and you just can't sleep after that. Suddenly developing anxiety attacks, right? A lot of the skin problems are very driven by histamine. Now, one of the things that So histamine comes from anything that's aged, so fermented foods, as well as wines, alcohols, right? Because it's all fermented too. Salamis, cheeses, sauerkraut. And so this is one of those things where, a lot of women go on a healthy eating spree, right? And start eating, for example, fermented foods, and suddenly say, I started eating, kimchi or sauerkraut, and incorporating all these fermented foods. Instead of feeling better, I'm actually feeling worse, and my estrogen dominance, my PMS is terrible, my breasts are really hurting a lot more. And so there is a connection between histamine and estrogen. And so this is where the connection comes in. And so basically high histamine levels drives up estrogen dominance. And, I've been talking a lot about estrogen dominance. My new book is coming out in March, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance, in case you didn't know about that. This book is also stuck in transport right now. On frozen roads in Kansas. But it should we should be able to launch in March. And the thing is that, so circling back to the role of Nettles, the beautiful thing about Nettles is that Nettles degrade histamine. And so, one of the things I've realized also is that I have genetic predisposition towards being a very slow histamine as well as estrogen metabolizer. And so my response to histamine is definitely like I don't produce a DAO enzyme that degrades histamine. So I tend to be more responsive to it. And one of the ways it manifests for me is that I don't sleep as well. So if I have a glass of wine, or if I have just a few days ago, I tried having a bit of almond yogurt with some berries as a little snack before bed. I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't go back to sleep until 4. And it wasn't the alcohol, because I didn't drink alcohol that day. It was the histamine. It was the fermentation from the yogurt. And so one of the things I started experimenting with is taking Nettles at night and see whether that nettle could be helping me with sleeping better, even if I have something fermented. So I had some, this time around I had 2 nights ago, I put some kimchi into I made like a Korean sort of stir fry, right? So with some buckwheat noodles, and put kimchi at the end, and mushrooms and some shrimp and stuff like that. And I thought, well, let's see what happens. And I already know it's going to wake me up, and I'm not going to respond well because kimchi is a highly fermented food. So what I did was I took some Nettles before going to bed. And the thing I'm talking about here is we have the Quercetin plus Nettles product. So, and we're doing the 20% sale. So you're basically saving $8.24 on this. So it's got Nettles in there. I'll talk about Quercetin in just a second. And so, and it was really fascinating. I didn't wake up at all. So my body was able to degrade that histamine a lot more effectively. So that's one of the things I really love about Nettles, their nutritional profile and their density, their anti-inflammatory properties, their regulation of blood sugar levels, and now as well is the ability to degrade histamine. Who here has histamine problems? Like, how do you know about them? Have you experienced that before? I'm just curious. So it helps with hot flashes, like I was talking about before. And I think all of that is kind of really fascinating because it is a highly anti-inflammatory compound, and it's found in something called the camphorol, quinonic acid, and choline, which is super helpful for the liver as well. So all of that is found in Nettles. Then the reason why we couple that up with quercetin is that quercetin, the saying, an apple a day will keep the doctor away, right? And and the saying comes from the fact that quercetin is the compound that is found in apples, right? But it's also found in capers. Got a list here prepared for you. Red onions are the highest in quercetin. So just a really wonderful thing, like if you were making a salad, if you don't mind doing onions, take a red onion. Red onions are highest in quercetin, and then slice it very thinly and toss it into your salad, and it's gonna be a really great source of quercetin. So red apples, not green, cherries, asparagus, tomatoes, and berries are some of the highest ones. The other thing, which was really interesting, I thought I'll share this with you. I found research that showed that organic vegetables were 80% higher on quercetin than vegetables that were they were conventionally grown, right? So another really interesting data point here. So the research that we have done on quercetin is that it improves lung function or also protects the lung function, which I think is super relevant here right now with the current pandemic that's going on, decreases inflammation, increases antioxidants. The thing that I really liked about quercetin, and that's how it kind of first got put on my radar, was that it is used the same way NSAIDs, so like things like aspirin or ibuprofen is used, because it's the COX-2 inhibitor, which is exactly what NSAIDs are doing, except that here you're having, your NSAIDs are going to be impacting your liver in a huge way. Here you have a little quercetin, which is a naturally occurring substance and is not going to have the same effect, which is kind of awesome. The other thing I love about quercetin is the fact that it also helps to repair tight junctions in the gut. So like for women who experience IBS, and you might have heard of leaky gut syndrome, right? So the junctions in the gut are becoming very weak, and that's when the food starts escaping right through the junctions and causing the inflammatory response of the immune system. And that's why most people, like for example, women with Hashimoto's disease or any other autoimmune disease also are very correlated with having IBS, and all starts with the gut health. So that's one of the other things I love about quercetin. And it actually, the studies that we have found also helps to connect the intestinal cells, or connect and repair the intestinal cells and maintain a really good intestinal barrier. So another really wonderful benefit. Quercetin needs vitamin C in order to be properly absorbed. So, instead of formulating two separate supplements, what we did was we put them together. So that's why you see quercetin here, plus nettles. Nettles are very high in vitamin C. And so is the vitamin C from the nettles in here that are making the quercetin a lot more bioavailable. So yeah, so I think it's that's what I want to talk a little bit about it today, about like I feel like it's a very underestimated supplement in our store. And I know so many of you here have been supporting us for years, and I thank you for that. And and I know you guys have been buying all sorts of things like magnesium and Wise Women Balance and Progest Pure and a lot of others, and those are the top sellers. But this is one that I think is just going to be like, if you're experiencing a lot of histamine problems, a lot of inflammatory stuff, you can't sleep at night very well, and you want a little bit of support for your estrogen as well, that's just a really great supplement to try out. Diana is asking, do you ship to the UK? No, unfortunately not. Supplements are really hard to ship across borders, and they get stopped a lot of the time, and you'll be angry with us. When I was a kid, we used to eat a lot of that during spring. Marine is saying, are you talking about nettles? Because I used to get pushed into an adult by boys. I used to hate that. Well, anybody would. How often would you take the nettle supplements? It's just once a day. I mean, it's until your inflammation comes down, your histamine resolves. Stacy, my husband's having bad allergies a while back. I ordered this and he started taking it and the symptoms are nearly gone. So I'm just going to put this out here. This is a really interesting one. Having bad allergies a while back. So allergies, you guys, are also, it's same as histamine is your immune system responding too much to a given thing. So it helps with allergies as well. That's very true. He ordered this and he started taking this and symptoms are nearly gone. Stacey, are you talking about this particular supplement, the quercetin and nettles? So yeah, for is it in a capsule form? Yes, it is. And so let me show you the color. It's got this really nice, I don't know how much you can see this here, but it's like a green, it's got like a green yellow sort of color in there. Yeah, so that's one that you can, then I encourage you to try, and you can save $8.40 on the bottle. That's 20% off, and the sale's going on until Sunday. All right, let me move on to the next one. I want to talk about resveratrol. So here's an interesting thing about resveratrol. What I'd like you to know is that I think it was like one of the great marketing, spiels that French wine manufacturers hired a PR company, and the PR company, somebody had an insight of looking at what's inside, what's in a wine, and they found, oh, great. So resveratrol is one of it, right? And resveratrol has got these benefits. So let's market that as wine as being as a source of resveratrol. So here's the thing, I just want to make it clear, is that resveratrol is found in one bottle of wine, so 1 liter of wine, so this is basically the standard size of bottle of wine you buy, has got at the most, like a Bordeaux from France, right, will have 2 milligrams of resveratrol. Where the studies and the claims, the medical claims that are made on resveratrol are actually based on between 150 to 500 milligrams of resveratrol. So you basically effectively you have to drink like 75 bottles of red wine or 250 of them in order to get that amount of resveratrol. So it's kind of misleading. And so I'm not a big fan of, believing that just because somebody's drinking red wine there, it's actually really healthy for them. In fact, if you really want to have good hormonal balance, red wine is just alcohol in general. It's not the greatest idea for a variety of reasons. It impacts your liver. You don't sleep as well. You probably can feel this. It drives up your histamine levels and all that good stuff, right? So not the best idea. So resveratrol, one of the things about it is that it's been kind of like marketed as an anti-aging thing, supplement. I personally, I hate that term anti-aging. That's just a personal choice, because it's like a bit like saying, I don't know, like aging is like a bad thing. And we all age, we all will age, we all get wrinkles, and I think we can age gracefully. But there's nothing wrong, like why anti-aging? Like, I can remember once somebody on my team once said, it's something to battle menopause. And I'm like, what is there to battle, man? I mean, we all gonna get into that point, right? So, might as well just learn to sail through it rather than battle it. So anyway, the thing about resveratrol, so let me just pull on my notes about resveratrol. So wine is not the best one, but what I love about resveratrol, and that was like the first thing that I was actually told about, like I really learned a lot more about resveratrol. The marketing side is the anti-aging, which I think is total BS unless you really frame it properly. And that is a big part of it is because it restores your glutathione levels. And so glutathione is an antioxidant. It chops down, right, all the radicals. So probably that's how it ended up having that name, anti-aging. But to me, because we do estrogen dominance, that's really my focus area. I think you are here because you want to hear more about how to clear your estrogen. So resveratrol can play a really big role in, there's something called quinone that increases the DNA damage on a cell and is highly correlated with women with breast cancer. So what resveratrol does is really interesting because resveratrol is basically a quinone inhibitor, and it blocks the quinone from going and doing DNA damage on the cell. So for things like estrogenic cancers like breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, thyroid cancer, lung cancer, non-smokers, all of those estrogenic cancers, resveratrol can actually really help with that. The other thing resveratrol is super helpful for is when I was going through my training for hormonal health, one of the things that the lab I was training with was showing incredible results and studies that show that you guys might have heard of this, that 2,16 hydroxyestrone basically is what's called a clean and a dirty estrogens. And what resveratrol really helps is to skew the balance towards clean estrogens away from the dirty estrogens that are causing all the symptoms of estrogen dominance. And so just to wrap this up, to no surprise, resveratrol is used as part of functional medicine, breast cancer therapy, when you work with more functional oncologists, for example. So really nice benefits to that. And with the sale that we currently have is $12.68 you're saving. That's the 20% on resveratrol. So if that's something that you think, estrogen, like perhaps our protocol that I always talk about, which is DIM, sulforaphane, calcium D-glucarate, has not helped you in the past, then I would suggest add resveratrol and see how it helps you with your estrogen metabolism. So one more supplement I want to talk about is calcium D-glucarate, because I think that's an interesting one, also very underestimated. So calcium D-glucarate, and it's not a kind of calcium that helps you build bones by any means. It's a form of calcium there is calcium is just the carriers, the glucuric acid that is really the where the magic happens, and it supports there's a pathway in the liver in phase 2 liver detoxification called the glucuronation pathway. So calcium D-glucarate helps to detoxify that pathway, where also estrogen is getting detoxified. So, but the thing is that I want to talk about more, where calcium D-glucarate can really become super helpful, is if you have been, in the past, drinking a lot of water from plastic bottles, if you have a history of, microwaving food with plastic in it, right? All of those plastics will get into the food and they become xenoestrogens, which are basically synthetic forms of estrogen that act as estradiol, which is the most aggressive form of estrogen that causes a lot of the symptoms of estrogen dominance. Really not a kind of estrogen you want in your body. And so calcium D-glucarate helps you detoxify of all of those. Another application is if you have been, just exposed to a lot of toxic environments. So for example, you live in a city, maybe near a highway, there's a lot of pollution, or you lived on a farm. It was always so amazing to me when I meet people, is that how many people came from farming communities, non-organic ones, right, and had some of the worst diseases. And so it is because of the amount of chemicals that is sprayed, right, that they're exposed to. And some of the sickest people I had worked in the past were wives of farmers, conventional farmers. So if you're one of those, or you live somewhere close to an environment like that, then it's definitely worth to consider doing this kind of detoxification on the liver. The third application is if you have gone through, that's actually how I first found out about calcium D-glucarate and applied it very effectively, is when I was going into surgery. It was like 4 years ago. I had a double hip replacement done. And a friend of mine who was an emergency room doctor turned a functional doctor, she said, I always use calcium D-glucarate to detox my patients after surgery from all the antibiotics and the anesthetics, right? Because your body's just bombarded with that stuff. So she actually recommended for me to take it before surgery as well as after surgery. So this is a really wonderful way to detoxify you from medications, pollutants, heavy metals. Calcium D-glucarate is phenomenal at that. One word of caution I want to just state is that if you're on medications, like for example, anti-anxiety medication, these kind of antidepressants, you want to take it away from the supplement. And we had somebody writing to us saying that she was taking it together with her antidepressants, and actually the antidepressants stopped working. So on one hand, I'm like, wow, this stuff really works. But on the other hand, like, you want to space it out at least 4 hours away from whatever medications you're having, because calcium D-glucarate really binds up medications and makes them least effective. And we don't want that, right? Especially if you have to be on medications. But for example, another application that I can think of is that for those of you who maybe wean yourself off antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications, right? It doesn't have to just be surgery. It could just be regular meds. And you've made a lot of changes in your diet and your lifestyle, and you are talking to your physician about tapering off some of the medications you're on, right? Calcium D-glucarate is really great to detoxify your liver from the years of taking medications like that. So you can save $8.40 or $8.37 on our calcium D-glucarate, and that's Gina's gonna post the link. So the bottle is right in here. So yeah, so those are some of the things I thought I'll share this with you today, because they are just so underestimated, and I think they're so wonderful in helping you. So let me answer a few questions that have just been coming in, and thank you for sticking around here with me. Tracy is asking, can you take reservations with DIM and calcium D-glucarate? Sorry if I'm misspelling. Yes, you can. So I don't know, are you talking about, resveratrol? I think, can you take resveratrol with DIM? And I think that's what you meant, Tracy, right? Yeah, and the answer is yes, you can. I want to focus more first on the questions that are directly related to what I'm talking about. Tonya is saying, I take your vitamin C right now. If I take your Nettles, do I need to continue taking your vitamin C? So, you would know by doing, like, if your bowels get really loose, Tonya, that's your body saying, like, I've had too much vitamin C, and you get loose bowels. I would otherwise not stop the vitamin C, especially right now during this climate with the stress, with how cold it is. I don't know where you live, but I feel like vitamin C, like, it's something that we burn through so quickly, and your body, like, if you're taking too much, then, like I said, you get loose bowels, then back off. Can kids take Nettles? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about Nettle and Quercetin, the one that a supplement I was showing you, but as food, absolutely so. Yeah. Dorothy's asking, can you take it as part of a smoothie or food? I'm assuming you're talking about Nettles here. Yeah, sure. But you need to blanch them. So put some hot water on them or saute them quickly. You don't want to be putting Nettles in your food uncooked. So let's just be clear on that. And by the way, just one interesting thing from herbalism that I've learned, I thought I'd share this with you, is that you want to collect, if you're foraging, and that's going to be happening in around later spring, right? So, and then through summer, depending on where you are, because it depends on that. Nettles can be wonderful, but you want to make sure you collect them before they go into seed. Once they go into seed, you don't want to be doing them. And one of the ways that you know that is they sting you on the inside of the body. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, so we definitely want to be careful of that. Do you have a supplement with astaxanthin? Michelle is asking. No, we don't. Jody's saying, I have nettles growing in my property, how to prepare. Hey, Jody, once I hang up, at the beginning, we were talking about the different applications. I don't want to repeat this. Just watch the beginning of this video. Laura is saying, how long can dried nettles keep on the shelf and still get vitamin C? I've never seen any research on that, but generally, as an herbalist, we always believe that you shouldn't be keeping herbs for more than a year. And this is considering this is an airtight container on a shelf without like direct sun access. After that, they start using their nutritional potency. So I don't know specifically about vitamin C. I don't think there's any studies on that. Would you have a suggestion for hirsutism? So hirsutism, Christine, is the result of high blood sugar levels. A lot of women with PCOS have that. So it's actually high testosterone levels in women. And so in case you're not familiar, this is facial hair or hair on your nipples, on, like, some women even get it on the chest right here. So that's the result of high testosterone levels. And high testosterone is most of the time in women when we have blood sugar levels that are too high. It's a metabolic response of the body in women. So you definitely want to be, you want to basically balance your blood sugar levels. One of the things, there's a whole chapter in my new book, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance. Well, there's 2 chapters that are relevant. Is one, how to rebalance your blood sugar levels. And another one of the last protocols in here is actually talking about how to reverse PCOS. So that hopefully that's going to be helpful for you. Okay, so I think I want to keep our videos to like less than 30 minutes. And as always, I overrun. So yeah, thank you for your questions. And let's see whether next week I can talk to you about bitters. Maybe I'll have my kitchen back and I'll show you how to make some of your bitters at home as well. Or you can, if you are not really inclined towards DIYing, then there are bitters that we have in our store launching next week. All right, everybody, have a wonderful weekend. And I hopefully see you next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.